So one of the reasons that I think Fanon is relevant to the colonial process that has been recognized as America um, is not just because um, he provides an extremely useful analysis to set of colonial conditions, especially the native quarters. So what we're seeing in Chicago and the black cities is what he describes as what happens outside of the European quarter, in the native quarters, in the slums, in the streets, in the places where people are redlined or pushed into so that they suffer police occupations with napalm and rifles, etc. While he called it the capitalist countries, but while other societies are controlled, but controlled through preachers and teachers instead, and universities instead. That analysis is extremely useful, but I think even more useful is his bifurcation of the leftists. For some reason in this colony, left progressives are seen as not colonists but useful to liberation. But in Fanon, what he describes, he doesn't use the word progressive, but basically what he's describing by the native intellectuals or the colonized intellectuals who stand in front of the people, the rioting people, the uprising, and say, hey, wait a minute, there's a possibility of colonial reform. We can do some, not liberal reform, but sweeping colonial reform, real reform, or have new leaders. And these leaders who will join the colonial administration and usher in something adequate. What Fanon says is that these people serve as functionaries of the colonial system itself, and it is an extremely useful tool, more than batons and napalm and rifles. It is a sleep cure that convinces people that even though they know fundamentally that nothing will change with this new musical chairs of the colonial administration, their hands are left outside of their holsters. Their minds are left outside of revolutionary thought and put into this type of waiting game, which is a detainment camp, which is a place to quarantine that radical voice that they would have otherwise possessed. So this break in the radical energy that is the sleep cure, that is the progressive, that is the colonized intellectual, Fanon shows exactly how they operate and what their purpose is. So in Fanon and the American colony, we're going to be speaking about Zohran and Bernie and AOC and whatever other puppet of a colonial administration that is promised this time for real to do some real good change, but does nothing that the uprising, once successful, will accomplish.